The Gentleman, new film from Guy Ritchie, who with it is returning to his roots. As a director, he made his fame on energetic and funny British gangster movies, such as Snatch, Rock'n'Rolla, or Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. Then he went on to create bigger Hollywood productions, and none of them really seemed to capture that magic or fit his style. None of them lived up to the standards that he set for himself. Now he's back with the same type of movie we all know and love him for. And as usual, he managed to get quite an impressive cast for it. Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, Michelle Dockery, Jeremy Strong, Colin Farrell, Henry Golding, and Hugh Grant. I'll try not to spoil any of the story and just give the very basic outline for it. Matthew McConaughey plays a drug lord, the most important one when it comes to marijuana trade in the entire UK. As he is getting older, he decides, it's time for midlife crisis. It's time for me to get out of the business. I've made enough, and he wants to sell his enterprise and back out. He has one potential buyer, then another one shows up on the scene, then there's a bunch of other more or less related problems that start to haunt him. We learn all of this because Hugh Grant's character is a journalist and he visits Charlie Hunnam, who plays McConaughey's right-hand man, at night at his house. Hugh Grant reveals he's been conducting this investigation and he wants to show the gangsters basically how much he knows and get some money from them in exchange for not publishing the story. Blackmail. And he even jokingly suggests that they can later make a movie as well based on all of this, as he's written a script based on the events. So it's kind of framed as this story within a story, and this is the element that I want to start with. I believe many people will really enjoy this. Hugh Grant, telling us the events and us watching them unfold. It's certainly an interesting storytelling choice, and it lets Ritchie go meta with a couple of jokes and even break the fourth wall. I had a problem with it though, because I think that when you're doing something like this, it's a tough balancing act between being, seeming intelligent and cool enough to pull it off and being too on the nose, too self-indulgent. And I think Ritchie, unfortunately, oversteps that line more than a few times. There are moments which just seemed like too much. In particular, there is one scene where Hugh Grant almost finishes the story and the person he's talking to asks, "That's it? We need a definite ending here." And he says, "What we need is a sequel." And in that moment, right behind him, there is a poster on the wall from a film called The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which is another Guy Ritchie film that had a sequel planned, but that never worked out. I mean, I can see why some people can find that funny and tongue-in-cheek, because it certainly is on some level. But to me, it's kind of like almost masturbating to your own pictures, It's too much. Second thing that I disliked about The Gentleman is that it seemed slower than its spiritual predecessors. The first half drags on at times, and it does have to do with Ritchie's narrative structure. Like in his older films, he takes his time to establish the characters and the relationships, to give us the overview of the situation, to put all the pieces on the board before he really begins to play with them. And I felt that in this case of this film, this activity of putting the pieces on the board should have been done with more flair, with more dynamically, because the pacing is slightly off. However, once it gets going, it is very good. I'm happy to say that the second half of the film is classic Ritchie once again, with all the events set in motion suddenly clashing together, with unexpected twists and turns, the previously forgotten characters showing up again and again, and payoffs to everything that was set up before, even if we didn't know that was a setup to a joke or a situation at the time. It's fun as hell to watch it all unfold. The plot elements suddenly start to click, the dialogue is great, the jokes land, the action is solid, the performances are top notch. I liked everyone in this film, but Colin Farrell just takes the cake. He has a secondary role, but every time he's on screen, he steals the movie away from everyone else. By the way, he's become a really interesting actor in recent years. I remember him from the early 2000s when he was supposed to become this new Hollywood poster boy, this golden boy, a handsome leading man in action movies. Then he disappeared for a while, and then he came back doing excellent roles in smaller films. He repositioned himself as this character actor that is really fantastic in everything he's in. Seven Psychopaths, In Bruges, The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer. Now this, it's great to see him do such solid work. In some ways, he reminds me of Brad Pitt, who also, Hollywood wants to make him this massive leading man, huge star, but he really, deep inside, he really is a character actor. Back to the film though. I know I started off by listing all the things that I didn't like about it, but that's because I wanted to get them out of the way. Because the truth is that I do think the movie is imperfect, but I also think its flaws don't stop it from being a really, really solid and fun movie. It's not as terrific as Snatch, but it's still very good.